I'm Kirk Montgomery, and you're watching In Focus.
Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Hi, I'm Eden Lane. Thanks for joining us for In Focus. This week we're at John Fielder's Colorado to meet a very special Colorado artist. We're going to sit down with Kirk Montgomery to learn about his photography shooting the urban landscapes in Denver. I sat down with Kirk in front of his exhibit in John Fielder's gallery. How fun to be able to come and talk to you this time around at the John Fielder Gallery with your work. The last time you were here, we didn't get a chance to talk to you about it. And
I'm nervous.
You're nervous. Well, I'm so glad you agreed to this.
Well,
I really
thank you for
appreciate
asking
it.
me.
You post a lot of this work on your social media sites, so lots of people know that you're doing this. But how did you even begin feeling like you had this artistic voice as a photographer to start shooting your neighborhood and everything else?
It started about 2 years ago when because I live downtown, I love downtown, and I took a shot of the clock tower around Christmas time and posted it on Facebook, and I got this tremendous response. And I was excited and flattered, and someone suggested, oh, that should be a Christmas card, or that should be, you know. And there's a tiny little gallery right around the corner from where I live. And I walked in and I had the image on my phone, and I asked someone at the gallery, I said, is this any good? Is this any good, you know? And they were so flattering. They said, oh, that's beautiful, and that's gorgeous. And I was like, oh, stop, you know? And so I got this idea to print a very limited number.
As Christmas cards?
As just a limited edition print, and decided to have some of the proceeds go to 9 Cares Colorado Shares. So I printed like 50. Well, the problem was the camera I had at the time, we could only print them 8 by 10 because the megapixels were so low. And so I had my first showing at this little gallery around the corner from where I live. And much to my surprise, they sold out like in an hour. And so I gave some of the proceeds to 9 Cares, and I made a tiny, tiny little profit. And with that profit, I bought a better camera. And it encouraged me motivated me to maybe pursue this.
That was your gateway drug.
It was my gateway drug. And so I bought a better camera that I could, you know, have a little more megapixels, you know. And
is that the camera you're using now?
It's the camera.
Sony that it has interchangeable lenses.
Lenses,
so you really took a big jump forward.
I took a big jump, you know. And the next thing I knew, and I kept posting them on social media, and the next thing I knew, I got a phone call from Kelly Rush, who runs the gallery here. And she was just very complimentary of my work. And so we met for coffee, and I wanted to be very clear with her, though. I said, listen, you know, don't flatter me because of what I do for a living. And don't flatter me because I'm Kirk Montgomery. I said, you know, people work really, really hard, and they're very talented people in town. And I don't want to be at a gallery or be known as a photographer because
you have that big platform.
Right, because of what my other job is. And she said, absolutely not. She goes, you have a wonderful eye, and you also have a real talent for cropping. You know how to crop, and a lot of people don't. And I said, well, thank you, but what does that mean? You know, because because here's the thing, I've always enjoyed photography. I've always thought I had a pretty good eye, whatever that means. But when it comes to the technical aspects of photography, I have a lot to learn. You know, I'm no expert. I mean, I think I know what looks good in my viewfinder, and I think I know what looks good when I do the cropping and stuff. But if you start asking me about the technicalities of photography, I have a lot to learn. You know, don't quiz me on aperture or f-stop and that kind of thing, because I'm no expert yet. I'm still learning. but just when I see an image, I can't explain it. I think, well, that looks good to me, and I'm blessed because other people seem to agree so far.
How is it different for you framing what will become a still print in larger format than it is framing what you're shooting for your other job on video?
It's different for video because of the parameters we have to use for television. Because for television, because a lot of people may not know, I shoot a lot of my own video. You know, that surprises a lot of people. I always have to be aware of our graphics.
To leave room
To leave room in the frame for someone's name or the information. And I know that's still kind of controversial. A lot of our viewers don't like a lot of our graphics. So I'll have to shoot much wider to know, okay, if I'm interviewing a subject, I have to make sure that there's enough space for the graphic you see at the bottom.
Even if it's just for their name tag, like we'll be using in this interview.
Right, even for their name. So I got to be aware of that. So that's a big difference too. But yeah, so I still have a lot to learn. You know, I'm learning all the time. And so that's how the whole thing came about. And so my first run here was last summer. I was here a few months. Then I took a little bit of a break.
And kept shooting.
And kept shooting, and it got a little better, and started a new series of things. And approached Kelly again just a few months ago and said, hey, I'd like to try it again. And we just launched a couple of weeks ago. And here we are.
It sounds like it's a long time, but you're here for just 3 months, which really isn't a long time.
Well, you know, the way these things work is you sign contracts, and I can be here as long or as short as I like. And you sign a contract, you rent the wall. You know, I pay rent, and I'm going to give it another try. And you know, I've sold a few, and you know, it's exciting. But I'm humbled to be here with these other amazing photographers and artists.
So, how involved are you in the process of printing the images that you select to offer?
I have a lot of creative control, because the one thing that I think works well with this space, this space is so well known for its gorgeous shots of nature. And I think what really sets me apart is I'm more urban, and I'm more downtown. And Kelly and Tony, who prints everything here on
So you
site.
have these images printed
These
here
are printed.
as well.
They're printed 50 feet behind us. Tony does an amazing job, and we collaboratively came up with an idea on how to do it with this on this lucite, and we just felt it looked urban and very modern and very different than anything else that's here in the gallery, and it really, I think, makes my stuff really pop, and it looks like it's floating off the wall. And
so this mounting, the way you're showing it here, is part of your artistic expression, and it's how someone would purchase it. That's how they.
Oh yeah, you take it right off the wall. This is exactly how we sell them, and it's just unlike anything else in the gallery. So I think everything complements each other. You know.
It's interesting because there's glass is a critical element in almost all of your shots. Not every single one, but there's glass in almost all of them. So to have it mounted that way is...
Gosh, I hadn't noticed that. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I guess you're right. But it's just a unique way to showcase it. And it's the only... this is the only thing like it here in the gallery.
So as you're exploring your neighborhood and you're looking for what to shoot, has that changed now that you're actually exhibiting your work from when you just started experimenting with your first camera?
Not really, because I've got thousands of images that Kelly and I went through, and we tried to pick, and that's the hardest part.
Editing.
Is going through and going, gosh, I gave her like 30 images to start with, because it's a limited space, and I didn't want it to look cluttered, so I only have 5 here, and to go from 30 just to 5 to highlight was it's like, gosh, how do you pick 5 out of 30? And yeah, so, and then I've got my bin prints, which are almost identical to what we have up here on the wall, except for one shot, which is a sunrise shot.
So they're just not mounted, but they're still on the same kind of paper?
Yep, same kind of paper, and they're not framed like that. But yeah, no, so I'm still shooting, and whatever catches my eye. I don't set out Like I want to get a shot of X, Y, and Z. I try and take my camera wherever I go, and whether I'm just walking around town, I'll just glance and go, oh, that looks interesting.
So you're not necessarily, although you may be, booking time where you're going out to work on your neighborhood, on your shots of your neighborhood, but you just take it with you all the time.
Always try and have my camera with me, always.
Is that one of the biggest tips you would give someone who wants to start experimenting? Is to
keep it with you all the time. It's in my car. It's with me. It's in my what do I call it? My man satchel. My Euro satchel. Don't laugh. Indiana Jones wore one.
That's right.
I would just always have it with me,
Do you find that you use your phone sometimes to sort of remember something you might have seen in your neighborhood and go back and take a more professional shot later?
Sometimes, or just living downtown, I'll glance at an image and go, oh, that. If I just don't happen to have my camera, I may glance at something and go, I'll need to come back. Or if it's if the weather's bad and I see something, I'm going to come back on a nicer day because that particular something I find interesting. I want to come back on a nicer day.
When the weather is more amenable to your work.
Yeah, exactly.
Your work pops a lot of color. Color seems to be another dominant
Well, that's
theme.
one thing I've learned in the last 2 years is I will manipulate a little in post-production, not a lot, because I don't want to.
So you're refining your image on a computer?
Yeah, in Aperture is the program I use.
Aperture is what you use.
Yep. And I'll pump the color just a little bit, I'll sharpen it just a little, but I don't want to go overboard because I still want it to be the image.
Because this isn't journalism, although there is a whole other discipline that is photojournalism. This is more artwork, so you can
Manipulate it a little bit.
A little bit more than you might do in your regular work.
Right, because in journalism,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. But this is more my artistic side.
So as I'm looking at some of these images, they're familiar to me because I've seen them and I coveted many of them. And a couple of them are my favorites, but I just want to talk through the few that you've selected. There were 5, one is gone.
One's gone.
One is gone.
But it's going to be replaced. Don't worry. We'll make more.
It will make more. Yeah, that's right, because it's 50 feet behind you.
That's right.
I wonder if you can walk me through the images that you did select, starting with this one that's called Mile High Love. Where was this, and what was that moment when you decided to capture that?
That was taken from the clock tower, high above the clock tower, inside
the clock tower, looking out.
The clock tower, on the top balcony, looking out. And I was actually up there for a story I was doing for 9 News. We had just finished, and it's just the most breathtaking view if you've never been up there. And it was a beautiful
And you're not
day.
talking about the event space, you're talking about those little walkways.
It was the event space, actually. It was Holly Kalberg who runs that. We were up there. And I'm just, it's just a breathtaking view. There was a storm starting to come in, and I had my camera, and I went, I can't let this pass by. And I took a number of shots from up there. And again, the way I've got my camera set is, I click it, and it'll do, 20 frames per second, So
you can select the clearest, most dynamic image later.
Later, exactly. And for that particular shot, I did, boost the vibrancy just a little bit, boost the color just a little bit, but it was a gorgeous day.
In that software you're using, are you finding that you're doing some gradient filters to sort of enhance your image, or are you just doing more simple modifications?
Oh, it's very simple. I'm not that smart. No, I'll just boost the vibrancy a little, boost the color just a little bit. Don't really play around. I don't play around with filters.
No, not yet.
I'm not that smart. I'm not that good at it, honestly. There are some people who can do that. My skill level is not there.
So and you're not doing HDR images at all.
No. And I don't want to make it a completely different thing. I'm just
your neighborhood as you're seeing it.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to make it look like a totally different place. I'm just boosting the color a little bit, boosting the contrast a little bit, just little refinements. I'm not changing the location by any means.
Yeah.
And that was the result.
How did you come up with the name for that in that moment when you had just finished your interview?
Well, it's weird when the names are last minute, to be honest. We'd pick the 5, and Kelly's like, "Okay, we gotta come up with a name for him." I'm like, "Really?" She goes, what are you going to call that? And I'm like, Mile High Love. It just boom.
It was just
Right, because I love my city.
Yeah.
And I was, 16 stories up. And
And a lot of weddings take place in that space that you were in.
Absolutely.
Maybe that was just sort of the essence staying
right.
with you.
That's right.
Now this one behind you, Future Past, and we'll be able to cut to that.
Yeah.
But I love that moment there where we're seeing the spire over those established buildings.
I'm walking through Larimer Square, and the other bit of advice is, a lot of some of my best shots are just familiar things we see every day, or we're surrounded by every day. But a lot of things, look up. Look up.
Don't be afraid to look like a tourist.
Right. And the other thing I love about my camera is it's got this, the LCD,
What you're looking at to take the image, the viewfinder or
the
the
viewfinder
LCD display.
can move. So I can see things. It's not just a static image. I can, just look up. You'll see things images that you wouldn't ordinarily see. So I happened to be walking through Larimer Square, just glanced over, looked up, and went, now that is just cool. It shows the history, it shows the past of Larimer Square, and then right there is the future or the present with the spire there, or the Four Seasons. And I just thought it was such an iconic shot, and just
It is.
took it. And again, took a series of those from different angles and positions on Larimer Square, and thought that was the best shot. And
It's interesting that you got that color balance too, because you can't change what's there. Those awnings sort of echoing that sort of orangey red color from the brick on the opposing
and it was
side.
just a beautiful sky that day, and again, I can't explain it. My eye saw it, and I liked it. Posted it on social media, got a lot of response. Showed it to Kelly, who's the pro, and she goes, "I love that shot." I'm like, "Okay, you like me? You really like me? I guess people will like." There's no. It's so subjective. There's no science to it. There's no right or wrong.
Well, but the composition does tend to work, so you're just natural, I guess. Now, the most amazing composition, and the one that I want to own myself, is Colorado Proud, and of course we all drive past that when they decorate Larimer that way. But you took your camera out and captured it, and you captured it in that twilight hour.
Again, it was a very, very windy day. It was very windy. The flags are out, and I'm having coffee, and what caught my attention first was just the sound of the wind and the flags, and just glanced up. And again, that was another example of, and went through each one.
Selecting the one that had just enough movement.
Yeah, but that sounds so technical. That was the one that caught my eye. And that's been very popular as well. And again, boosted the vibrancy, boosted the color just a little.
What time of day was that?
That was late afternoon.
Late afternoon, so that golden hour that photographers love.
Yeah, if you say so. I'm still learning. I'm still, I have a long way to go, and I'm so humbled and flattered that people
like the work you're doing.
Like the work I do.
And you must understand, you must feel that the appreciation for this work is because they like the work. They may notice it because of your larger platform as a Colorado celebrity.
Yeah, whatever.
But the work survives beyond just that initial appeal.
Thank you.
Now, of course, the one that's the furthest behind you, that's still up, is from a place that's near and dear to both of us.
Yes.
And when you posted that, you had this great little moment where you were asking people to identify where it was, and they had some really great answers. Tell me, because I've often taken shots in this same space, so tell me about what made you look up there.
Well, that was, actually I remember exactly what that was. That was a Saturday morning, I believe, let me make sure. It was when Book of Mormon tickets.
In case they don't recognize it, that's the lobby at the Helen Bonfils complex.
Yes, and so I was going, I think it was I'll have to go back. But I was going to do, it was very early, it was early. And so my shift, my work shift had not started yet. But I was going to do a slideshow for 9news.com. We had another crew there covering the story. So it was my own time, but I always like to contribute, and so I was going to do a slideshow of the kind of the madness that was that morning. And so I'm doing a slideshow of the lines and and the tickets and again look up and I went, oh, that's a cool shot, But what's interesting about that shot is, again, that's where some cool cropping came into play, because the original shot was just very, very, very wide, and I just experimented with how I wanted to crop that shot. And just the morning light and the colors, and again, just boosted
And that
it just a
repeated
little.
pattern.
And the pattern.
Two different patterns.
Right.
Squares and circles.
And again, posted it and got ended up picking it as one of the 30 or 40. Kelly and I went through it and got a lot of response. And there it is.
I love it. And it's interesting because it's a place that you and I both know really well. And
Right.
you took that moment in the middle of working to look up. That seems to be one of your lessons, to look up.
Look up.
At
Yeah.
our wonderful city.
And I've got so many other ones that are, if I can plug the website, KirkSnap, KirkSnap.com, you'll see recognizable images around our city done in just a way that is, you'll look at it and go, gosh, that looks so familiar. Where is that? Again, it's a combination. I'll take it from a certain angle and then crop it in a way that it's familiar, yet where did I see that? And I get a kick out of that.
Yeah. It's this whole gallery is all about a celebration of Colorado.
Absolutely.
And your corner in this gallery is celebrating Denver, the urban side of Colorado. And your biggest lessons that you're telling us is look up and take a lot of pictures.
And take a lot of pictures.
And always have your camera with you.
Right, and experiment with cropping the photo, because there may be you may take a photo that you think the composition is perfect, but if you crop it a certain way, it becomes a completely different photograph that may be so much better than what your original shot intended.
Even if you don't understand the rule of thirds and the color balance, just try it.
Try it, experiment, get opinions from people who know a lot more than you do, because I learn from these guys all the time.
Well, I think that we're all learning something here, that no matter who you are, don't be afraid to just get out there and try things.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate that about you. And being friends with you outside of our work is very special to have you come and share this part of your work with us. I really appreciate it. I wonder if we can sort of follow along and see what it is you do when you go on these little urban photo safaris.
Oh, now I am nervous.
Now you are nervous. Well, thanks so much for letting us visit your space here at the gallery.
I really appreciate you asking me, and I'm thrilled that you asked me to be on our show.
You can find even more of Kirk's work online at kirksnap.com. And you'll see he follows his own advice. He takes his camera everywhere, takes lots of photos, and looks up. And his current exhibit runs at John Fielder's Colorado in the Santa Fe Art District. Next week, we'll bring you a special behind-the-scenes look at the regional premiere of End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center. Here's a glimpse during the first week of rehearsal.
Made me love you. Clang, clang, clang with the trolley. Ding, ding, ding with the bell. Sing, sing, sing when my heart strings. From the moment I saw him, I fell. And as if it were planned, he stayed on with me, and it was grand to stand, his hand holding mine, to the end of the line.
Join us next week for our special look at the regional premiere of End of the Rainbow at the Arvada Center. Arts Stir Denver 2014 is a weekend arts marketplace that will be held during Memorial Day, right in the heart of downtown. This special event exclusively showcases local and regional artists. Here are some highlights from last year's event at the pavilions. As a major community partner, Colorado Creative Industries is sending one artist representative from each of the arts districts across Colorado. And there's still time for you to join. The artist application deadline is April 24th. More details are available online at artstirdenver.com.
Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Snugglebug.